All right, let's get started. Today is Wednesday, December 5th, 2018. This is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. We'll jump right into our 113 tasks. The main task is to cut our official 1.0 sidecars. So I believe all the repos have cut RCs, and I have run the PD non-serial tests with the RCs. I'm currently in the process of trying to run the host path and also serial tests, but actually it looks like the node driver registrar doesn't have the image pushing set up yet, so I can't test the node driver registrar images.
Michelle, I found one issue with the host path driver. When I updated the end-to-end testing in Kubernetes to use the current latest 1.0 canary images, one of the tests fails with host path, one that expects a block volume provisioning to fail.
That's because I think in create volume, we need to return an error if we don't.
Exactly. I have a pull request open against the drivers repo, but that needs to go into host path driver if we want to have a 1.0 release of host path that actually passes all tests.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, so the main purpose of this exercise is to just validate our sidecar containers. So I think it'll still be okay to cut the sidecar containers for 1.0. And we can fix the host path driver and update the test separately.
I agree. So far, it looks like the sidecars are okay. It's the host path driver that needs further work.
Yep. So I guess, let's see. I guess so now, I guess we can call the sidecars tested, although I only tested external attacher, external provisioner, and node driver registrar. I did not test any of the other sidecar containers. So at least for those three, I think they are okay to release the 1.0s. I think maybe Shing can make a call on the external snapshotter sidecar if you were able to test it and it's working.
Yeah, test it works.
Okay. And then the last one is the cluster driver registrar and also the liveness probe. Those are not tested. I guess actually the cluster driver registrar still has some pending PRs.
Yeah, let me take a look at that.
So I think that might not even be ready yet. And then last was the liveness probe. Sergey was able to test it and it's good, so we can cut official 1.0 for that. Okay. So I guess the only one we can't cut an official release for yet is the cluster driver registrar.
Okay.
It's still pending.
How are we going to test the cluster driver registrar? Do we just do it manually and check if the I thought there was an end-to-end test for, I guess, the pod workload info.
Yeah, so the pod workload and the skip attach E2E tests currently manually create the CSI driver objects themselves and doesn't use the cluster driver registrar. So there's a issue open to fix the test to do that. Okay. But in the meantime, we might just have to manually try it and just check that the object.
What we think it does. Luis, can you do that today?
What do you want me to do today?
Wrap up the work on the cluster driver registrar. I'm going to take a look at it and get it approved, and then let's get it merged, and let's create a release branch and create a RC1 off of the release branch, and then test that it actually does what we think it does.
I should not do that before I release it.
Sorry, what?
Shouldn't I do that before I release it?
Right. We want to just cut an RC and then test it, or.
Oh, I see. RC1.
And then once that's approved, then we can go ahead and make it an official release.
What method do you want me to say that it works?
Deploy it on a cluster and make sure that it creates the correct objects. So
Okay. Just check if it does what it's supposed to do. Got it.
yeah, basically.
Okay.
You're going to have to enable alpha on your cluster because the CRD needs to be installed. I mean, you could do one of two things: either set these individual feature gates for the CSI CRDs to true, or set all alpha to true, or just manually install the CRDs. Because I believe this sidecar assumes that the CRD is already installed by Kubernetes.
I can check on that. I thought that if it tries to push it in, if it doesn't, then
yeah, it might
I'll
just
check.
fail
I'll
if the
check.
CRD doesn't exist. So you're going to need to do that, and then just pair it with some driver, deploy it, and make sure that it comes up.
Sure.
And that way we've sanity tested that at least it works.
So
All right.
I don't need to. I didn't want to yesterday at this morning. I didn't want to do any releases because in the externals provisioner specifically, because it says my name on there. But it looks like you guys have been doing it. So am I only doing cluster, not even driver? The other one, not driver registrar. Which repo am I releasing? That's my question to you guys.
I see.
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have assignments for the existing ones.
Yeah, so Shing is handling external snapshotter. Jan is under external attacher, but he's gone for the day. So if we want to do this today, then probably one of us should do it.
Okay.
I guess I could do it. Let's see, and external provisioner is ready too. I can handle that as well.
External provisioner, okay.
So I guess, Luis, you can handle the node driver registrar and cluster driver registrar.
Okay, and you
And the liveness probe.
and that's fine. Node driver registrar is supposed to be 1.0.
Yeah.
No RCs. Okay, and same with liveness probe, right?
Yeah, just do an increment of whatever's already there. If there's a 100, create a 101. If there's not, just create a 100.
So, okay. 101 most likely for both node 100 for node and 101 for liveness probe. Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just double check if there's a 100 there, then 101. If there's not, then
there is one already. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
And also when we cut them, we need to do all the release notes and stuff.
Got it.
With all of this.
And also make sure that you cut the tag off the head of the release branch.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely.
That's just a reminder.
Yeah.
So the release notes, should that include all the release note that we have done for those RCs?
Yes, it should be like an all-inclusive. This is what this 10x release includes, because this is our first official 10x release.
Okay.
And then if there's any backwards compatibility changes between the 0x, you capture that as well. Just all the questions that are here.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Next is the secret logging. So we are done with the 1.0 stuff. Oh, except for the cluster driver registrar. That needs to be done. Once Luis's PR goes in, then we need to also do the secret logging stuff for the cluster driver registrar.
Yeah, my PR is just waiting for review. So.
Okay. Actually, can someone else handle the cluster driver registrar to do the secret logging?
Do you want me to do it?
Sure.
I just look at your.
Yeah, you can just look at my PR and see what I did. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, I can do that.
Cool.
You did it for Node, so that should be pretty easy. So.
Yeah. Okay. So secret logging for 1.0 is almost done. So what we have remaining is to also backport to 0.3.
Yeah, I created a pull request for a second function which uses hard-coded field or assumptions about the hard-coded field names.
Okay,
That's what pull
awesome.
request for.
Awesome.
It's the same package because I found that this is easier to implement. So one now basically has to be a bit careful about which function is used for sanitizing, but
Okay.
that should be fairly straightforward.
All right, we'll take a look at that. Thank you. Next are the flaky subpath tests. So I think
I haven't backported my change yet.
okay, yeah, I backported my change.
Did that help?
I haven't looked at the 113
Okay, I'll take a look at that
test
real
grid.
quick.
I know the master test grid is looking a lot better now.
Okay.
There's still a few flakes,
Mhm.
but it's definitely not as frequent as it was earlier. All right. Next is splitting up the driver registrar. So we talked about that. Syncing the host path driver YAMLs with the E2E YAMLs.
I have. I was looking at a PR that reviewing Patrick's PR that I think we need to come to an understanding where things should live. Because I was assuming that we wanted to have all the YAMLs in one location so that we can stand up a host path as an example, and then have the example content point to it. But I think Patrick had a different idea, so I wanted to make sure that we come to an agreement where exactly we want things to live for this to happen. And I've been reviewing Patrick's PR, and I left a comment, so I don't know if he has any input, so we can discuss.
Yeah. Well, the decision earlier was that the individual sidecars document, for example, their own RBAC rules together with the source code in their own repository. That's why we now have the RBAC files distributed among the different components. Those components don't have a deployment file because you typically don't install the driver registrar without some other CSI driver. That leads to a specific deployment of different components as we have it for the host path, where we have a pod with driver registrar, with host path. And that deployment then depends on these other RBAC rules. And what we've been doing in the documentation is that we just pull different files from the upstream repositories. And my suggestion to you is that we now do the same in the drivers repository, where we just put this one file that doesn't live anywhere else, this basically the pod definition, and reference the other files. I've done that with the README, and it's clearly not enough. People who want a full example need to go to our documentation or the end-to-end test if they want to see how things really work together in practice. It's
but
going
what's
to be
the point?
Yeah, I think
example if you cannot use it.
The driver document, the driver report doesn't have an example. The example is in the documentation, and that is a complete example.
Right. And I think we're saying the same thing, but I think what I want to make sure is where is that. My idea was to have the example under with the host path repository, but it sounded like, Patrick, you're saying right now a complete example exists under the doc example. So, and that's what we should all come to an agreement with. Where should the example live? And then I think we'll be all in the clear.
I think two examples
I'm thinking
extremely
confusing. Path, but say it again.
Having two examples is extremely confusing, because yesterday when I was trying to validate the loudness probe, I had to jump back and forth. I see example in the host path, so I kind of thought that, okay, I would use it to start the host path, but it's not fully workable. One needs to go away. There should be only one with the workable deployment files.
Yeah, my stance is if somebody pulls down the host path repository, they should be able to run it.
But
with,
that means
it should be self.
But then we need to end up copying YAML files again from the driver registrar, from external provisioner, from external snapshotter, from external what's the fourth one? Well, no, we have even more. Now we have the whole node registrar, cluster
Well, I mean,
registrar.
Guys, so 1 second before we go round and round on this, because I believe I have a solution. Is that host path? I believe you're correct, Vladimir. I like that idea. They should just be able to take it. And at the same time, all we would need to do, because I've done this before, is just get a simple script that just pulls the latest host path information and just adds it to when you build the website for the docs, just pulls it and just adds it. So it's not too difficult.
I mean,
that's actually what the current, there is a similar script now committed in the docs repository. That's why I'm saying the docs example, that's guaranteed to be complete without copying files.
I think enough. Go ahead.
Maybe what we should do is not have. It's really hard to test information in docs. So it would be easier for docs to point to an example.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, the issue, the docs can point to wherever things are. I think the issue is the actual things that make up the example, where do they live? So one thing we could do is if we wanted host path to be self-explained and self-described when it comes to an example, is put the necessary YAMLs, I don't think all the YAMLs would have to go there, but put the necessary YAMLs under host path and possibly a README that tells you, okay, if you want to run host path, this is what you need. And that README would point to the, as you said, Patrick, the additional external components and how to run them.
So if I may suggest, one thing that we do in our own CSI driver is that we have a deployment script that just says for deploy driver.sh, and there it does all the necessary kubectl applies on the YAMLs, and we could say, like for the host path example, we can have a deploy driver.sh, and it can deploy the RBACs from the remote repositories along with the host path RBAC or host path YAMLs from the local repository.
And that's
that
just
would kind of become the self-described thing.
I'm fine with that. If that replaces the docs example, I'm fine with that. We just move the authoritative source of what the right URLs are from the docs to the host path. That's fine with me. It doesn't make the overall thing more complicated.
Yeah, because as a CSI plugin vendor, like for the most part, you want to package you want to have like some plug and play model where people can just download your repository, run a script, and it launches everything it needs to.
But I do want to understand the complexity that you mentioned, Patrick. If host path is self-sufficient as far as describing how to run itself.
Well, you still need to follow up on updates in the driver registrar. Whenever we make a change to the single source of truth for the RBAC files, you somehow then need to synchronize the example. And
yes, and you would have to do that even if it's under the example docs, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is the complexity that we need to solve, but it's not. It's the same problem whether it's in the host path repository or under the docs,
right?
In the docs repository. I just wouldn't like to do it in both. picking one is fine. And
yeah, I
now
don't want
that
it
you're
to do,
moving,
right.
yeah,
I don't want to do it in both.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to do it in one place. So I just thought it'd be nicer to have everything that's about host path under host path, and as Michelle said, to be able to bring that up.
I'm fine
in one fell
if
swoop
we
tool.
go that way. If we don't end up copying files, that was my major concern. That we don't have
Okay, yeah, I think
potentially
we're on the same
outdated
thing.
copies of things, and people then end up copying the host path example and don't know that they need to update those files and that this is not the authoritative location for them. That would be confusing, or that has been confusing in the past.
Yeah, I think if we if we move everything under host path and call it the authoritative location, we just got to make sure it's well documented that that is where things are supposed to be.
Yeah,
and,
if you do that together with the docs update, that's fine. But this one PR that I have open, it would be good if we could just merge it, because it documents the current status, and it fixes one issue that I have when trying to use the external URLs. I noticed that the end-to-end test is not quite the end-to-end tests have a slightly modified version of one of the RBAC files with different service account name. And therefore, I need to get the host path example updated so that it matches the RBAC files from the driver registrar, I think. And then I can also update end-to-end tests in Kubernetes to use the upstream files. Otherwise, I can't do that. That was the main motivation for this PR, not so much the README file.
Yeah. So I just LGTM that PR, so you can keep going, keep moving, and then I'll go back and based on our discussion now, continue with this task, Michelle.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Let's see. So updating the E2E images. I think we talked about this already. You have a fix for the host path driver pending. Let's see. Next is the Kubernetes CSI docs.
Can we assign someone to merge that pull request and then perhaps backport it, because currently it's just pending.
Yeah, I can review that.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me know if you need approvals for this.
Sure.
I have no progress on the docs.
Okay. I mean, I guess once we cut official releases, then we need to work on docs next.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all the 113 items that we have. Going back up to miscellaneous items.
Status update. The new CSI utils repo now has a pre-submit test, and it's mandatory. What it does is basically just go test. Nothing fancy, but it ensures that we don't merge anything that doesn't pass a simple make test.
Nice.
All right. Very awesome.
I was wondering whether we have that in any of the other repositories.
I think it's already there with Travis.
Okay, and Travis is also blocking. I wasn't sure about that part.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it seemed worthwhile trying it with Pro. It was certainly a worthwhile learning experience. Probably harder to do than Travis CI, but at least now we are aligned with the rest of Kubernetes.
Yep. All right.
And I've been investigating a bit, as you saw on Slack, how to do more complex things. Full end-to-end testing of our canary images for the sidecars, for example. And that would have to be in Pro and on the more capable cluster that is available there, because Travis CI virtual machines just tend to be not powerful enough for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I put the whole under our 114 wish list. I have an item for improving our CI process so that we can run the actual E2E tests and stuff. So that would be amazing. All right. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about? All right, sounds good. I guess we'll meet again on Friday.
All right.
All right, take care, guys.
What do we want to do next week for KubeCon? Do we want to hold this meeting? Do one of you want to run the meeting? I think Michelle and I will both be out for KubeCon.
Yeah, I will be out also.
I'll be
Who's
out.
not going to be at KubeCon?
I won't be. My talk wasn't accepted, so that means no travel approval.
I think there are a couple of things that we wanted to finish up by next week, which was around the 0.3 containers. We wanted to cut the official new releases with the secrets.
Yeah.
If the call is not necessary, we can just cancel the call for next week and communicate over email.
Yeah,
And
we
then
can
pick up
just
the following week.
yeah, we can just talk on the Slack channel and stuff.
Okay.
So I guess next week, all the meetings next week will be canceled.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on Friday.
Thank
Take care,
you.
guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.